I started getting high when I was about 14. I remember being at a party and folks were like shooting up cocaine, and I was like, well, I will try that. I had my first suicide attempt that same year, and I've had many since then. Through mental illness, it's hard to see yourself because you're seeing through this fog, through these outside notions, through this like devilish little voice in your head that's saying you're not enough, and not ignoring that voice, knowing that it's also a part of me is important. In terms of help for my mental health, I self-medicated. That was my help. Coming up, I was Black, I was a woman, I'm a first-generation Canadian, and I'm queer. There's a lot. As people of color, you don't really have that support system, or you didn't for a great deal of time. I was so fearful to talk to anyone because being from the background I'm from, you were always taught you'd be taken away by the state, and there's so much history of sexual assault when you're in the system, and I remember being told old white men will rape you. Communities of color especially, there is this notion of you have to, because no one's gonna do it for you. There is no support. There's no, I'm gonna inherit money. So I never sought any help outside of intoxicants for most of my life, because we were taught that help isn't for you. Working in the hospitality industry and my mental health, Whew. For many years it impacted it poorly. You expected to be abused. You expected to have to self-medicate in order to get through the day. I remember working in kitchens and being told if you can't do your job hungover or downing, then you probably should go into another career. I remember going into restaurants and being like, hey chef, how do I know when this is ready? And they're like, when it's done. And it's like, well, okay. I'm gonna feel very anxious for the rest of service, thank you very much. There was once this instance where a pan fused to my hand and I had to like fling it across the room, and then I wrapped my hand in a moist cloth and I finished service. And then I went into the alley and I cried. I could take off the subsequent days because my hand was screwed, but I know for a fact if I had called in that evening and be like, hey, I just don't feel well in my mind, I feel like I can't function, it'd be like, no, you have to come to work. But with mental health, so often in our industry and in this world, it's not treated with that same respect. Because again, if I broke my knee, no one would be like, well, you better hobble on down to this floor and sell some wine. They'd be like, no, stay the ass home. I know it looks weird that I'm able to engage with intoxicants on a daily level, but it's engaging with intoxicants that keeps me from getting too fucked up. I like the idea of harm reduction approaches to things. And so it's kind of like, I guess I microdose wine all shift. As you're like proofing bottles and like guiding people through experiences. It's important that I'm lucid and able to share the information I've gained. And if I'm too fucked up, I can't do that. I feel like I'm proactively co-pilot now, like I'm holding the map. I'll always be an addict in my mind, and I'll always be a person who suffers from mental illness. It's important to understand that you're not alone in this, and there's a lot of people at different stages of their journey. And it's a revolutionary act to love yourself. It's a revolutionary act to seek support. I think that having that compassion for yourself at every stage of your journey is important. And not everyone's gonna be in the same place. And right now, I'm in a fairly good place, but I know there's still so much life ahead of me, hopefully. And I know that I can always progress and grow. And as we said, there's no such thing as failure. There's learning, that is all. I think that's an important way to frame things.